my name is Lou.
Hello, Lou.
Today we are working on our new Headway elementary book. So, which food and drink comes from your country?
From my country, food, well, there are lots of different kinds of food. One of the favourite dishes is roast beef, like a Sunday dinner. But the beef itself doesn't come from, well, I don't know, we do have beef in England, yeah. Beef, lamb, we have a lot of lamb, a lot of beef. But we also import beef and lamb. But yeah, we have a lot of homegrown beef and lamb, yeah. And we grow vegetables, we grow our own vegetables. But there's also a lot of imported stuff. So yeah, we have a lot of farms. The farms are in Norfolk and Suffolk. Lots of farms around there where they grow barley and wheat and corn. And we also have lots of orchards, apple orchards. It's not hot enough for us to grow orange trees, so we have a lot of apple trees though.
All right, very good. Which foreign food and drink is popular in your country?
Well, actually, just about every kind of food you can imagine. We have Chinese food is very popular. Lots of Chinese restaurants, Chinese takeaway. They have the sweet and sour pork, noodles, and then also Turkish restaurants. Lots of doner kebabs, iskender kebabs, Adana kebab, yeah. Lots of kebab shops, takeaway shops. Also Greek food's quite popular. But the most up and coming now, I think Vietnamese food is very popular now. It never used to be. I think that's the newest fad now is Vietnamese food. But yeah, we have food from every different kind of culture. In Brick Lane in Shoreditch, London, the whole street is full of Indian restaurants, all different kinds of Indian types of food, because we have a close connection with India. So, but yeah, we have lots of food from various countries around the world, and they import them into their London restaurants. So, but every city has these same kind of restaurants. So yeah, we are a multicultural nation, which means we also have multicultural food, if you like. And as for drink, well, we are a nation of drinkers. We do like our own kind of beers, but we also have French wines, German wines, like white wines and red wines. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now we have, can you identify any places or nationalities in the photographs? What else can you see? What do you think? Place or nationality?
Well, that's Middle East, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know which country it is, though.
Could be Saudi Arabia. Looks like Kabsa here, huh?
Yeah, actually, if you look, they've got the schmuck. Yeah.
How about over here?
This looks like Vietnam. You look at what they're wearing on their heads.
Vietnam, southern China.
They've got rice fields and paddy fields.
How about this?
Oh. Well, are these tomatoes?
Strawberries, I think.
Are they strawberries? Oh, okay. Well, it could be anywhere. Europe, could be America.
I'm thinking maybe Venezuela.
Oh, maybe.
How about here?
China.
Eating some noodles? Maybe northern China?
Yeah.
How about here?
Japan.
Japan, lots of Japanese food. A little
Yeah.
bento, huh? What about this?
Oh. It's the docks somewhere, but they've got sandbags there. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, maybe just as a clue, El Jazeera?
Oh, because it says L, maybe it's Spanish. But it could be South America, couldn't it?
Let's see. We have Saudi Arabia, desert family sharing a meal. We have a rice harvest in China, strawberries in Venezuela. Then we have rice from Sudan. Isn't that interesting?
I didn't see the rice.
Latin American country. The Japanese people are having the sushi and tempura, and the Chinese people are eating noodles. Okay. Now we have, read the text, write the correct question, heading for each paragraph. So, we have 3 headings. Where does our food come from? What do we eat? And how do we eat? Okay? For 99% of human history, people took their food from the world around them. They ate all that they could find and then moved on. Then about 10,000 years ago, or for 1% of human history, people learned to farm the land and control their environment. Okay, so.
Teacher, can
Once
I
again?
read?
Yes, you can.
The kind of food we eat depends on which part of the world we live in, or which part of our country we live in. For example, in the south of China, they eat rice, but in the north, they eat noodles. In Scandinavia, they eat a lot of herrings, and the Portuguese love sardines. But in Central Europe, away from the sea, people don't eat so much fish. They eat more meat and sausages. In Germany and Poland, there are hundreds of different kinds of sausages. Teacher, what's herrings? What's that?
Herring is fish.
Okay.
Very popular in the northern areas like Finland and Sweden and Denmark and
Oh, I see.
Norway and Iceland.
What's sausages?
A sausage is ground pork or beef that's stuffed into the intestine of the animal and cooked.
Oh.
Gross. Okay. Do you want to read the next paragraph?
Yes. I can only see the first 2 lines. Is that what you want me to read? Oh, okay.
In North America?
So, in North America, Australia and Europe, there are 2 or more courses to every meal, and people eat with knives and forks.
Yes, very
In
good.
China,
Keep going.
In China, there is only 1 course. All the food is together on the table, and they eat with chopsticks. In parts of India and the Middle East, people use their fingers and bread to pick up the food.
Very good. Now, what are chopsticks?
These are long, thin pieces of wood used for picking up food in China and Japan.
I see some here.
Yeah,
Here.
chopsticks.
Here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's Japan.
Yeah. Please read it for us.
Nowadays, it is possible to transport food easily from one part of the world to the other. We can eat what we like, when we like, at any time of the year. Our bananas come from the Caribbean or Africa. Our rice comes from India or the USA. Our strawberries come from Chile or Spain. Food is very big business, but people in poor countries are still hungry, and people in rich countries eat too much.
Very good. What is a banana?
What's a what?
A banana.
A banana. Oh, a banana. This is a yellow piece of fruit which is a curved shape. And you have to peel it from the top, and it's peeled in like strips, and inside the yellow peel is the white banana, which is the fruit.
What about here? When we say very big business, what does that mean? Food is big business.
Business, this is when you're trading or dealing in a product or service. And if it's big business, it means it's very successful, or it's really just growing in size.
Right. Okay. So there's a lot of money behind
Yes.
buying and selling food.
Yes.
People in poor countries are still hungry. When I say still hungry, figure of speech, right? What does that mean?
Well, poor countries don't have so much money, so they don't have so much food that they can import to buy with the money, which means the people are hungry, they don't have enough food, and it's the same situation now as it was maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So they're still hungry.
Very good. People in rich countries eat too much, in contrast. What are we saying by that? Eat too much.
Well, a lot of rich countries now, they have these fast food restaurants, and a lot of people in rich countries, we know they go to McDonald's quite a lot, it's very popular. And if they eat too much of this kind of food, it means they're eating and eating and eating. So, whereas they have a lot of food, in the rich countries, the people in the poor countries, it's the opposite.
Right. I know that in America, about 2/3 of American citizens are overweight. About 1/3 of American citizens are obese.
What does obese mean?
It means severely overweight.
Oh.
Yeah. So, we have our headings. Where does our food come from? What do we eat? And how do we eat? What do you think? What goes there?
Oh. China. I don't know, teacher.
I like what do we eat, right? But again, with the kind of food we eat depends on. So that'll be a what do we eat. And it's talking about different countries and what they eat there, what's popular. How about this next section? What do you think?
What do people eat with?
We want to know about what do we eat, how do we eat, and where does our food come from?
Oh, how do we eat?
I like how do we eat. Talking about knives and forks. Talking about courses, chopsticks.
Where does our food come from?
Where does our food come from? Looks good here. We're talking about the Caribbean, Africa, India, USA. Food being transported from place to place.
Teacher, in the first paragraph, from food around the world, it says, the kind of food we eat depends on. What does that mean, depends on?
Where is it? First paragraph?
Yeah.
The kind of food we eat depends on which part of the world we live in. So what it's saying is that the area of the world where you live will dictate or will determine what you'll want to eat, right?
Oh, I see.
In the south of China, it's rice. In the north, it's noodles, because you can find the rice more readily available in southern China. Noodles are more popular in northern China.
Teacher, what is sardines?
Sardines are very small fish. They often are salted and put in the cans. They're very long-lasting food. They're not rot very quickly. Interesting.
Okay.
Now,
Teacher, it says 2 or more courses. Courses? What's that?
Oh, when they bring you a given wave of food, that's your first course. They bring you another wave of food, that's your second course. In an American restaurant, your first course will often be a salad or a bowl of soup. Your second course will be some kind of entree, protein or carbohydrate and a vegetable. Your third course will often be something sweet, like ice cream or a piece of cake.
Teacher, what are knives and forks? Knives and forks, what's that?
A knife is a metal utensil used for cutting your food. A fork is also a metal utensil, usually having 4 prongs, and those are used for stabbing your food and bringing it to your mouth.
Teacher,
Yeah.
what does it mean, pick up?
Pick up is to lift.
Oh.
Very good. When did human history start? Was it about 10,000 years ago? Or was it about 1 million years ago?
Oh, well, the thing is, teacher, it says human history.
Right?
Now, human history began when people started recording it.
That depends.
What do you mean it depends?
It depends on your own beliefs.
It depends on your perception of how history began, how it was thought about, how it was recorded.
Okay?
I mean, in these caves, there are drawings of animals going back hundreds of thousands of years, even millions of years.
Okay?
And then you have the hieroglyphics in the pyramids.
Okay?
So I would say, if we talk about the caves and the drawings of the animals, that is millions of years ago.
Okay. 99% of human history, 10,000 years ago, or 1% of human history. You would have to do your math, wouldn't you? 10,000 years is only 1%. According to the book, human history began 1 million years ago. You have to do that math. You're 1% with your. Do they eat much rice in the south of China?
Yes, they do. They eat a lot of rice.
Yeah.
It comes in these bowls. Usually it's a little white bowl, and usually they eat it with chopsticks.
And we're right here in the south of China. They eat rice. Why do the Scandinavians and the Portuguese eat a lot of fish?
I think it's because they live near the sea, and
Scandinavians
there's a lot of
and
fish in the
Portuguese.
sea.
That would make sense. Yes. Let's see what we have here. Scandinavia, they have herrings. Portuguese loves sardines. The Scandinavian countries and Portugal do have a broad coastline.
So they have a lot of fishermen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fishing going on, and they catch the fish and sell them to the shops and restaurants.
Why don't the Germans eat much fish?
Because they're not surrounded by water.
That would make sense. In Germany and Poland, there are hundreds of different kinds of sausages. Which countries have many kinds of sausages? We just got that one, didn't we? Germany and Poland have hundreds of sausages. How many courses are there in China?
Courses?
No.
What kind of courses?
Courses are waves of food. How many waves of food?
Well, China, there's probably lots.
Actually, if I remember right, there's only one, wasn't there?
I don't know.
Let's double check. In China, there's only one course.
Oh.
All the food's together on the table. They have chopsticks. They bring you one giant wave of food. You all share it, right? Traditional Chinese dinner, it's on a circulating table. circulate the food, and you have some pork and some rice and some chicken and some vegetables, all these different kinds of combinations. How do some people eat in the Middle East? What do we have here?
I don't know, what do we have?
Parts of the Middle East, people use their fingers and bread to pick up the food, right? So in some parts of the world, it is popular. Pick your food up and eat it. No fork, knives, or chopsticks. Why can we eat strawberries at any time of the year?
Do they grow them in greenhouses?
I suppose that's possible in some parts of the world, but according to our passage, strawberries come from Chile or Spain. Interesting. So, Chile is in the southern hemisphere. Spain is in the northern hemisphere. So, strawberry season in Chile is the opposite of strawberry season in Spain. So, they can be grown here during one part of the year and shipped all over the world, grown here during a different part of the year and shipped all over the world. Very good. Work in small groups and discuss these questions about your country. What is a typical breakfast?
Oh, the full English. You can't beat the full English.
Yeah.
It does vary from region to region, but basically the full English breakfast is maybe 2 eggs, fried sausage, fried bread, even hash browns, it's like potato in batter. What else we have? A cup of tea, bread and butter or toast, bacon, beans, tomatoes, mushrooms. Yeah, anything you can put in that frying pan. Oh yes, keep you going all day.
What does your family have for breakfast?
Well, as I'm not married, and being a single man, what I have for breakfast, I just have like some toast, and usually I have a cup of coffee. That's about it really, I don't have much else. Sometimes I might do some scrambled eggs, occasionally.
Is lunch or dinner the main meal in your day?
Yeah, I guess dinner, after work, in the evening, go out to have a dinner, yeah.
Okay. And what is a typical main meal in England?
Well, for me, a typical main meal, I often buy some steak or beef from the supermarket, maybe cook it with some vegetables, have a cup of tea or coffee, might even have some bread and butter or some toast with it.
Okay. And finally we have read a paragraph about meals in your country. So, for the rest of the class, you will be writing a paragraph about food in your home country. Okay, we've now written our paragraphs about food in our home country. Our class is over. I enjoyed our class today. Once again, I am Lou.